Okay, so I watched the Eubank Jr. Conor Benn announcement press conference. Conor Benn turned up looking like a gang member from South America, and Eubank Jr. turned up looking like a suitcase. So it was funny right from the off. Eubank Jr. was saying that he isn't training hard for this fight. He's taking Conor Benn lightly. He's at a bigger disadvantage here because he's really not training for fitness or anything else. He's not going to spar as hard as normal because the camp is really just going to be about getting down to weight to around 157, which is lighter than he's been since he was 18 years of age. And he also said he's only going to be about 60% of himself in the ring on the night, but 60% is going to be more than enough. These are the things Eubank Jr. is saying. And obviously, Conor Benn responded by saying that Eubank's just getting his excuses ready. Now, my take on it is that all the things Eubank Jr. said might actually be true. Yeah, the fact that it's going to be a big drain for him, he won't be able to train as hard as normal, and that he'll be more focused on weight loss and maintaining certain weights at certain periods rather than what he would normally do, which is just focus more on the fight and getting as absolutely fit as possible and pushing his body to the limit. All that might actually be true. Maybe Eubank Jr. is at more of a disadvantage in terms of the way he's going to feel in the ring. But why say it? That's the question. A lot of times fighters will say that they feel great. And if it's a catchweight bout, they'll say, there's no problem at all. I feel fantastic. Because they don't want the opponent to be spurred on, thinking that they've got this weak guy in front of them. So they'll try and mask their physical weakness due to being drained behind bravado and apparent confidence. Eubank Jr. has decided to do the opposite. Now, is he doing this because he hopes Conor Benn will fight extra aggressive, thinking that he's got this weakened guy in front of him and therefore walk onto shots? Is he trying to wind Conor Benn up just like his dad wound Nigel Benn up? And that's ultimately how his dad won their first fight. Nigel Benn was too emotional. Maybe Eubank Jr. feels like the same strategy will work with Conor. You know, a red flag to a bull, and he plays the matador, and gradually, over the course of the fight, he sticks enough spears in him to where he either wins on points or he manages to take him out late. Maybe it's a strategic thing, mind games by Eubank Jr. Or maybe it's exactly what Conor Benn said, and that he's just getting his excuses ready. Maybe he's just taking this fight for the money, purely for the money. And he's thinking, well, if I get beat, I get beat, but let me just get my excuses out there first, because I know that it's going to be absolute hell making the weight. I know I'm going to be a shadow of myself in the ring, but I need to make these things plain going into it, rather than saying I feel great and then after the fight saying actually it was the weight. Because fans always ask these fighters who say they're great before the fight and come out with an excuse. They say they were injured after they lose. They always say to them, why didn't you mention it before the fight? Well, here we have Eubank Jr. mentioning it all before the fight. He says right now he's overweight. He's nowhere close to the contracted limit of 157. And as I say, he says that he's going to be not himself in the ring, but he won't need to be. What do you guys think about this? Maybe it's a situation where also he's trying to take credit away from Conor Benn if Conor Benn does win. You know, rather than just making excuses for himself, also diminishing Conor Benn's win. Oh, well, you beat a drained guy, you beat a guy who was only 60%, you did this, you did that. Well, maybe he's trying to put pressure on Conor Benn, because by saying that he is completely diminished and he's going to be a shadow of himself in the ring, Conor Benn is supposed to do a job on a guy like that. Perhaps, I'm not saying he should, but maybe that's the idea that Eubank Jr. is trying to put out there. That, well, I'm drained, so he should be doing a job on me. And that puts pressure on Benn. You see it. So I'm not sure exactly what the case is. I'll be interested to hear your thoughts in the comment section below about why Eubank Jr. has taken this approach, whether it's him getting his excuses ready, or whether it's some type of psychological tactic. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. And as far as Conor Benn, he was his typical self again, dressed like a guy from, I don't know, a gang in El Salvador with all the tattoos and the dark glasses inside and just the look in general. I mean, if he went down to gangland in El Salvador, they'd take them as one of them, right? Or Ecuador or wherever. Eubank Jr. literally made a coat out of a Louis Vuitton bag. And I know that he didn't literally make a coat out of a Louis Vuitton bag. I'm sure Louis Vuitton themselves are selling this monstrosity. But it looks awful. It looks like Eubank Jr. got thrown in a tumble dryer or got thrown in a blender or something, or he got whipped up in a tornado with a bunch of Louis Vuitton luggage, and that's how he came out on the other side. Crazy. So yeah, let me know what you guys thought about the press conference in the comment section below. Did you enjoy it? And what's going on here?